Good morning.
Hey, I'm the Worth Playboy, and this is
Bunny.
And welcome to the Morning Hustle. We're going to get started here, going over some of the newer stuff on Twitter. Like I always try to convey, Bunny has a show, 7 a.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Saturday, that she goes over what's been going on the timeline recently.
Yeah.
But when you come to our timelines, we want to stay with the classic and reliable game, relationships, marriage, sex. These things that you come to us for.
Yeah.
And because you can find the kind of like reactive Twitter all over the place.
It's true. It's easy to find people getting pissed off at things.
Yeah, but we try to stay in our lane, the things that we're good at, and deliver that on a daily basis. And this gives us a chance to kind of like expand on the classics and talk a little bit more about what online, more anecdotally.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we always like to start with a maxim from CHATEAU HEARTISTE. You can't go wrong with that.
No. Maxim number 88. The fervor of a man's declarations of fidelity to his woman positively correlate with an increased risk of cheating by either the man or the woman. I thought this was a really, really interesting one.
I think when you're talking about a man, it might be covered. You know what I mean? Most guys that are very secure in their relationship, it's pretty much like most things that men understand or value, it's unspoken.
Yeah.
They're like, do you love me? Well, I'm married to you, aren't I? You know, I mean, that's how they kind of go about it.
Yeah.
I think, and this is for whatever reason, when you're like looking at like Christian groups,
yeah,
the pastor kind of has to lead the way. So that's one of the few times that you'll see a guy that really kind of has to oversell it when he's really just like, the wife and he are in a very good partnership.
Yeah.
But he has to kind of oversell because most guys are like checked out.
Yeah.
When it comes to their wives.
1,000%.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, but if you're talking about your middle of the road general, it's very rare that a man who's been married 20, 30, 40, 50 years even mentions, unless you ask. He's not going to say. I mean, I've seen guys where they're like being interviewed on television, like, they're like a sports star and they're talking about his after retirement and what he's been doing. And they'll be like, and you've been married to Mary Beth for 30 years. He's like, hey, yeah, I have been. I mean, they're like, it wasn't even on his, it wasn't even on his radar. So, am I right?
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
So what is it with women when they are pounding the gavel about how healthy and happy their marriage
I think
is?
that a lot of times when women are going over and aboard, sharing how much they adore their husband, how wonderful he is, how sweet he's been lately. When you see that on like social media and things, oftentimes they've just had an argument. They've just had an argument. They're on the outs. She's trying really hard to pretend like she's happy. This happens a lot because there are so many times that you'll see women going on and on and on and on and on about how much she adores her husband just to be getting divorced within the year. It's a lot.
Oh,
yeah.
Now,
this is not to say that like when it's a marriage anniversary, like when it's his birthday, oftentimes girls will gush extra, and that is not a negative thing. Yeah. But for the same, kind of the same way you're talking about, girls don't find the need to just constantly be gushing about their man unless there's a real reason for it.
Yeah.
And so either she's cheated and is feeling guilty and is going overboard talking about how amazing he is because she wants to stay, or they've had an argument, they've had a rough patch, and they're just trying really hard to like tread water and get the fuck out of it. But oftentimes, if girls are going on and on about how much she adores her man, you can guarantee a divorce is around
probably
the
found
corner.
out that he ran around on her or something. I mean, I think, and I should not know this much about pop culture for a man who doesn't own a TV, but we do have TVs running in the gym 24/7. So we kind of, Kelly Ripa is a good example of a girl that has like a solid marriage.
They do,
but you know, because like every once in a while, like the host that she has will be like, and we saw Kelly out this weekend with her husband, and she's like hanging on him like a cheap suit.
Oh yeah.
I mean, eyeballing him, staring at him, and he's like, he's like looking away. He's like walking down the street.
He looks like an Italian model. Also.
Yeah.
I mean, they are an adorable couple that is never.
And she is always like right on it.
Yeah. They remind me, I mean, not that we're as adorable as Kelly and whatever I think his name's Mark, but he also fills in on her show a lot.
Funny.
So they do this a lot.
Yeah.
They definitely strike me as a couple that does better together.
Yeah.
They just genuinely like play off of each other.
But she never brings it up that much. I mean, unless the other person brings it up, she doesn't, she doesn't mention.
I think that they're more of an anomaly though. Because she talks about him and stuff like that. But like on the normal girls that you see on social media and stuff, if they're going nuts over their husbands for what seems like no reason, there's a reason.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Okay, next. This is a pretty interesting one to me because this guy posted this as a response to your tweet.
Oh.
So you had posted, hotel sex has saved more marriages than all the couples therapy combined, which is accurate. And this guy, he tried real hard to say it that was wrong.
Oh.
He said, sex is the greatest marriage advice. And then he did laughy things. And he also misspelled advice. But, that's neither here nor there. I don't know what is wrong with my marriage. We're always fighting. We're about divorcing. Just have sex like maniacs for the next month. And also, try to get in good youthful shape for each other. Kidding though, sex can't save all your problems. I found this fascinating, as you did also, because you sent it to me.
Oh, good.
because, first of all, sex does save more marriages than not. I mean, it just is a strong indicator of the kind of relationship you have. You can have a 20-year marriage, which we'll actually talk about another post about a long-term marriage where there's no sex in a bit.
Yeah.
But if you have a strong sexual connection, everything else about your marriage, about your child rearing, about your family problems, your money problems, your business problems, all of the challenges that you run up against are easier to manage as a cohesive unit if you have a strong sexual bond, period.
You don't see people in divorce court that have a good sexual chemistry.
No.
It's dead. I mean, I bet there's never been a divorce that made it all the way through proceedings when the people still have some type of high sex drive together.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's not a third party, intermingling or any weirdness. It's the bedroom's dead. The marriage is dead.
Right.
And what this guy probably had been doing was chasing his overweight wife.
Yeah.
Because I will say that because 90% of Americans are overweight. So you can say that with certainty. But he also mentioned the getting in shape.
Yes. Yes.
Excuse me.
Well, I did find it interesting because under this tweet that he did, where he quote tweeted you, everybody was like, wrong. Talking about that he was wrong, that sex was a strong component. Everybody was like, you're off on this. You're off on this attempt to call Fort Worth out over this.
Yeah. And in the dread department, which we always recommend for, you know, when these, as the first line of defense, when relationships or long-term relationships are going wrong, it creates, what's dread? It's creating competition anxiety in her mind.
Yeah.
Whether it be real or imagined, doesn't matter.
It's
it has
true.
the same effect. That's the even better. You don't have to cheat. You can just think you might.
Yeah, or
And
could.
It tends to like, exactly, that you have the capability, and it tends to get her chasing, and then all of a sudden the sex gets better.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So that's our first line of defense when it comes to like, we're on the way to divorce. Well, let's look at the, you know, how much is she actually chasing you?
Yeah.
Usually it's zero.
Yeah.
You know?
It's true.
But yeah, sex is a major driver. Nobody's in divorce court with a good sex life.
Well, and I would say, you know, there are those guys who will try and make the caveat to that statement that, oh, we had crazy passionate sex life. I don't think oftentimes these are actually marriages. I think these are more like relationships. But we had a crazy passionate sex life, but we burned hot and cold. Like, you know, they would fight as passionately as they would fuck.
Yeah.
And I think that in those situations, and those of course happen, where they're really not good partners just because they have a good sex life, but they also fight as hard as they fuck. Like they genuinely don't actually get along that well. And so the bedroom does die.
Yeah.
They're not, you know what happens in movies? You have this knockdown, drag out fight that turns into the hottest fuck of your life. That might happen like one time in a lifetime. That doesn't happen in real life. In real life, you're like bitter and you're pissed off and you are holding grudges, and you know there's all of that. So these couples that are having hot, incredible sex but also fight like cats and dogs generally don't make it to the point where there's divorce court involved.
And this is a good example. And this is where casual dating, running a rotation works. These couples, as long as they keep it casual, have great sex together, they have fun together, she can date other people, he dates other people, they don't worry about one another, but the best parts of their relationship comes together.
Exactly.
And in that time, he can be looking for somebody that might be a better suit seriously.
Yeah.
And she can find a man who might be better husband material.
Yeah.
You know, he's not it. And that's okay because they don't get along with in every facet.
Right.
But they click sexually great. Use that, enjoy it for what it is. But I think a lot of people, they have that traditional monogamy in mind, and it just is a shit show and everybody suffers.
And I would say, I mean, 1000%. And I would say, don't mistake a great sexual chemistry for that being enough to carry on a relationship. No. So, you know,
it's the icing on the cake.
Yeah, into like a serious relationship.
Yeah, it's the icing on the cake.
All right. Dads typically, okay, this is really good. I need to actually blow this up so I can read the whole thing. Dads, it's all about the difference in the way that men work now versus like your father, grandfather. I thought this was really fascinating. Okay. Dads typically used to work more and harder. A lot of them worked jobs they hated for 30 plus years straight, drank, weren't involved and empathetic like so many are today. I thought this was really good. And I do think there were some interesting comments also. We kind of went through that. The average male 50 years ago probably endured way more sexual, physical, and verbal abuse or neglect as a child than today. I do think Western men as a whole are kind of soft right now on average, but skills can be learned. Deep childhood wounds are harder to overcome. That might have been a girl. I think about this graph a lot. Provenance of data unknown. Father time. It's talking about like only children or daily child care by fathers by education level and in minutes across a multitude of countries and time periods. Yeah. But what are your thoughts on the original tweet? So like this guy had quote tweeted a guy named Jeremy McClellan who said, everyone talks about the crisis of masculinity, but every dad I know is both more masculine and way more involved, loving, and empathetic and affectionate with their children than the dads I knew growing up. Feels like we're entering a golden age of fatherhood. And that's where this guy said dads typically used to work more and harder. A lot of them worked jobs they hated for 30 years straight. They drank, and they weren't as involved and empathetic as today. What are your thoughts?
Man, that's a tough.
It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. Good morning, CD. Thank you for joining us.
Especially when you know, our job is to, of course, separate out our experience with what the general experience is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because who was I exposed to? My dad, who drank a lot, but he generally was home because that's where he could drink. You know what I mean? He would be home, and the guys, the men or the fathers that we were exposed to were the coaches. The guys that were available during the evening, and they're usually like cops or firefighters, you know, I mean, very blue collar. Those were the guys that coached us. That was our exposure. I mean, again, it's been 40 years, 50 years, I guess, but I forget, like my kids don't know their neighborhood as well as I know.
No.
Like you could drop me in my old neighborhood. I know every street. I know every house. I know, you know, every street in Arlington. But my son probably does not know his hometown.
No.
Back and forth. Because you only learn that from being on your feet or on a bicycle.
It's true.
You know, for years on end.
It's
and
true.
Walking those streets and knowing where your buddies and friends and girlfriends live. And spending 18 years there. You know. But they don't know that anymore.
Well, and you also had a dad who which is where you learned it, he worked within a mile of the house.
Yeah.
You know, and so, you know, he was home for dinner.
Sure.
You know, you're saying he was home because he could drink there. Also true. But he was home for dinner.
Yes.
Because he could drink and because he worked close. He didn't have a commute.
No.
You know, but also, I think another careful differentiation between now and when we were growing up, I would say, or older, the next generations ahead of us, is that also the kids weren't as busy. The kids were not as involved then at all. I had ballet lessons or I had piano lessons. There were sports, things of that nature. But they were never at the same time. You weren't running when we were growing up and the generations that went before us were growing up, you weren't constantly running from one kid activity to the next kid activity to the next kid lesson to the next kid sport to the next anything. Parents wouldn't have done that. It just wouldn't have flown. We entertained ourselves, you know, and so fathers were involved and empathetic and all this. Fathers were there for leading the household and for leading the family and for being the hard-nosed disciplinarian. That was their job, you know, in the family.
It's true. And then, because we're talking about like the 80s, probably around mid-90s is when like minivans and mom's like hustling the kids around.
Yeah.
Started becoming more pronounced.
true.
You're correct, because there's no, I mean, other than sports at school.
Yeah. And it was all through school.
Yeah. It was all, there was no like select teams or none of that.
It was very rare.
And then, I mean, you know, we were in much more lower middle class neighborhood, but even business travel up into the 90s, early 2000s wasn't as common.
No.
You know, I mean, so many guys, you know, before the pandemic and now it's starting to pick back up, would be out for business travel.
Right.
You know, 4 or 5 days a week. And it just didn't happen as much.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they either were already there in town, everybody worked and came into the office.
Yeah.
Or they didn't do any travel.
Yeah.
You know, ever.
It's true. My father, being in the jewelry industry, he would have to travel to New York probably, if memory serves, I would say probably once a quarter. It was probably a quarterly trip.
That would be either like once a month.
Yeah.
You know, to do FaceTime.
Yeah.
And he'd probably have a larger territory of responsibility where he had to get on the plane.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Whatever you're selling.
Yeah.
You know, and your responsibilities.
It's
Yeah.
true. But I did find this tweet completely fascinating. All right, you sexy thing. Next, I heard someone say marriage prospects for American men are bad because how many women are fat? One thing I know is possible. It is possible to start dating a fat girl with a pretty face, undervalued stock, make her like you, and then hint that the relationship depends on her being skinny. This is terrible advice.
This is a business guy on Twitter giving both weight loss and relationship advice, and neither are very realistic.
It's the worst advice. And he was getting roasted in his own comments.
Good, he needed to be.
Yeah.
We've at least for 20 years I've worked with weight loss.
Yeah,
I've owned
that's
a weight
been
loss
the
business.
focus. Yeah.
You know, and to think that it's that simple and easy
That'd be great.
is mind-bendingly simplified.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and that there's not other thing. And this is the thing that when it comes down to like girls and weight, you know, one, it's their own issue. You know what I mean? It's a very personal issue. And the girls that have been heavier for whatever reason, when they do lose a weight, they have the propensity to gain it again under highly stressful.
Yeah.
I'd say it's like 80-20, maybe.
Seriously.
Yeah, or 90-10. And, you know, because every girl that's 25 is going to go through some more stressful situations, either be it child care, child rearing, parents passing away, empty nest. I mean, the whole gamut, car accidents, husband
having
gets
babies, losing babies, any
the
of it.
whole thing. There's going to be more stress coming down the pipe. And if that is in there, it doesn't go away.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I always tell guys, this is a simple way to avoid this. If she's by 25, she doesn't have healthy eating and exercise habits, she's in for a bad time.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to like curse or, you know, but the overweight issue has definitely skewed the sexual marketplace.
Absolutely.
I mean, because they talk about like 60 and 70% of people, 90% of the U.S. is overweight.
Right.
People like to pretend, well, that's not what the CDC says. Well, you can't say.
At what point are we going to stop believing the CDC?
You can't say that because then people have to take action when your society is 90% overweight.
Yeah.
And all you need to confirm it's not a hypothesis, it's a fact. Go to a baseball game, a football game, go to the airport.
Yeah.
And just sit there and look for a slim person.
Yeah.
It'll be 1 out of 20, 1 out of 30.
And anymore, the truly healthy weighted people look too skinny.
Yeah. I mean, because what you're seeing, like what guys, and it's horrible, is they go, yeah, she looks about the right weight. She's still 30 pounds overweight because your eye is skewed.
Yeah.
Because everybody's fat and swollen.
Yeah.
You know, so after a while, then that's why every person that goes to Europe or goes to Asia says, holy fuck. You can spot an American a mile away.
Yeah.
Because they're not even overweight. They're just American size, which means 30 pounds overweight.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was one of the comments that I had even about that girl who was on the airplane who like, that's not real or whatever, that girl. Because even she was at maximum density. And everyone's losing their fucking minds because she wasn't morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, but she was already
20 pounds
thick.
overweight.
Yeah.
But we call maximum density where a person, male or female, but you usually see it with women, literally cannot gain another 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And they will literally like look fat.
Yeah.
They'll go from like
okay.
appearance is pretty, they're pretty, they have a pretty face.
Yeah.
To she needs to kind of get her weight down. It's
Yeah.
only like a 5 pound.
It doesn't take
swing.
much at all,
No.
especially with women.
Once you've kind of hit that maximum, and that's usually around 30 pounds.
Yeah.
And we know from working with thousands of people with weight loss, if you think you need to lose 20, you need to lose 40. If
Yeah.
you think you need to lose 50, it's 100.
It's true.
And most guys will come in, and almost inevitably lose 100 pounds.
Exactly.
And they're just walking around. Nobody was even concerned.
No.
They go to the doctor would be like, you need to start exercising.
Your
Okay.
numbers look good, forgetting the
Yeah.
fact that they're already on like 5 different medications
Yeah.
in order to make their numbers look
Your
good.
blood work, I've lost count of the number of people whose blood work looked good, but they were 50 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
And wheezing from walking across the parking lot.
Exactly. CD Bear says, I've been playing with dating apps. He's shocked by the size of women, especially young women. We talk about this a lot. Sure are a lot of strong, independent women looking for men. Yeah, no kidding. Ironic, isn't it? But we talk about that a lot with, you know, like we'll have like a cute 19-year-old, let's say, come across the feed, and I'll be like, that's what you're supposed to look like when you're 19. She actually looks good. It's shocking.
Mm-hmm.
It's shocking. Instead of that being the norm, you know, the norm has become something quite different.
Oh, well, yeah. And, you know, we live in an entertainment district.
Yeah.
So during college football, there's a lot of like groups of 4 or
Yeah.
more girls. And if there's 4 girls, they will either all be overweight
Yeah.
or 3 out of 4
Yeah.
will be overweight.
It really is true.
And these are girls that are like 19, 20, 21.
And in an affluent school. I mean,
Yeah.
the university here is an affluent private university. Yeah. It's not like a state school that kind of is all welcoming. It's you know, so it is, you know, it's kind of like that class of women who should know better.
Yeah.
Who should know better. Woo! It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. All right. Speaking of a lot to take in, this is actual research. For both men and women, poor flirting skills were the most important predictor of involuntary singlehood.
That's it.
So jump into that, because you can like summarize this, I feel like, better, and just like talk about that.
Well, the inability to flirt, and mostly this was primarily on the men's side, because charisma, which is, I mean, game is learned charisma.
Yeah.
Charisma is the ability to flirt.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's social status, it's verbal acuity, it's, you know, what do you say?
Oh, the like confidence, like the
Yeah,
yeah.
you should have irrationally high confidence.
Yeah.
And all this stuff can be built. It can be
Yes.
practiced.
Yes.
And that's the thing. I mean, that's the number one thing. They said for the guys, basically gain poor flirting capacity, high neuroticism where you're in your own head,
Yeah.
low self-perceived mate value, meaning low self-confidence, lower self-esteem, and the higher, and not having children. Because again, if a guy's had children, some girls approved of him at least for 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that, and I thought that was an interesting part,
Yeah.
you know, but the lack of charisma, the lack of learned charisma is what holds men back.
Absolutely.
The girl is basically super awkward.
Yes.
And
yes.
that just tells, and girls that are pretty don't tend to have to do much.
True.
So they're not awkward. They just kind of like show up and they move forward through life. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So if a girl's a 4 and she has physical deficiency she has to overcome with her personality, but doesn't have a personality to match,
Right.
she's in trouble. And the number 2 thing, which is where a lot of moms fuck up their girls, is that poor sexual functioning.
Oh.
I mean, a girl who has like,
Yeah.
they have mental and which sometimes proceeds to physical problems with sex. Guys aren't sticking. High value men are not sticking around.
No.
They're not. They're not going to go into that and go, God, I got 50 years of bad sex.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And so that inability to flirt and the poor sexual function just shuts girls down. But again, generally, they're already at a physical deficiency.
Sure.
You know, they're less than they're a 4, 3, 4. You know, even 5. It's like a 5 with a good personality
Yeah.
and knows her way around a man can pretty much marry as high as she wants.
It's true.
You know, but for the men, the lack of game kills them every time.
Yeah.
You know, they might get lucky. They might have enough ability to speak to a girl and overcome it one time.
Yeah.
You know, because that's why most guys do marry the first girl they have sex with.
Absolutely.
She let me have sex. I'm good enough. I'm good. You know,
Yeah.
they really are, because they like to get like, go back and play video games or work on a car. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's the real deal with this is game solves this involuntary singlehood.
1000%.
It can't move a guy from like a 4 to an 8 or a 4 to a 9, but it can move him from a 4 to a 5, maybe a 6.
Yeah.
You know, and that's all that it takes.
It doesn't take much.
No.
Yeah.
No.
And that's where learning goes. Just can be a deal breaker. I mean, a deal maker.
Yeah, and this flirting thing is a good example of like why obese male comedians do just fine.
Yeah.
They are never alone.
Yeah.
You know,
it's true.
If you've got a good personality, and you know, you'll see it all the time. They're nothing to look at, but they've got big personalities. They might not even have that much money.
Think of that Ralphie guy. That I think he might even be dead now, but he was morbidly obese.
Yeah.
Not even attractive, like
in a handsome
way. Like he literally just looked like a dump truck. And I bet he fucked his way around the world.
Oh, for sure. He was famous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I say that he may not be dead, but I kind of think he is.
They usually do pass away or something.
Yeah. But hopefully he died doing what he loved.
I mean, like Chris Farley.
Yeah.
John Goodman. These are big men. Big men usually don't last long because it's hard on the heart.
It's true. It's
So.
true. Woo! I thought that was really good research. That Ralph Dagan always does really.
This was really good stuff that was applicable to a lot of stuff we see all the time.
If you guys like research and really like, you know, if you kind of like the Robert Greene, the laws of power, you know, the research based, like really a little bit deeper dive stuff, follow this guy. He's a really great account to follow.
What's his name? Rolf? And there's also Alexander, who has, I want to say, at Psych Day.
Oh, yeah.
And he focuses, sometimes he throws his own opinion in there, and that's okay. But he does share a lot of like research, and you would be shocked at the amount of research that's done on flirting, mating, hooking up, dating, you know, because there's money in it at the end of the day.
Sure.
You know, and people, it's either weight loss, making money, or fucking. That's it.
Well, relationships are love relationships, for lack of a better way to put it, are such a critical part of your success or failure as in life.
Yeah.
You can have a really great job and a really terrible marriage, and your life will get ruined by it.
It takes away all the joy and everything else.
So it's a lot. Okay, next. So this is a meme. Waitress, let me get this mess out of your way. Me, I already called her an Uber, but thanks anyway. Sarah Beth sent this to me this morning, and I had to crack up, and I had to share it with you guys. Next Wednesday, it is the first hump day of the month, and on the first hump day of the month, Sarah Beth Urich and I get together for spicy tea with Bunny and SB, and it is all about sex and fun, and we are going to talk about the extreme spectrum of sexual enthusiasms. So kink from the most mundane, kind of normal, let's say, to the strongest kinks. We are going to talk about everything.
You need to tune in, because most girls can't talk about sex.
Yeah.
The ones that can talk about sex aren't going to talk about sex on camera for the world to see.
Sure.
So this is a rare glimpse into like how girls' brains work when it comes to sex.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because even the girls, like you'll see like on Whatever or Fit and Fresh.
Sure.
Before they go in, they've got this. These are the. I'll admit to this.
Sure.
I will not admit. I'm not going to talk about that or that
That's
or that.
true.
You know what I
That's
mean?
true.
So.
Well, and I would say that, you know, also we talk about sex we're not there to like sell a toy or there are some different like things about it that sometimes it's because they have an OnlyFans, so they're trying to like.
Yeah.
But truly, she and I are essentially recording conversations that we have anyway.
Yeah.
And we're fielding questions. Like you be in the live chat. You can talk to us, you know, all of this stuff. It's just a good time, and it's super informative.
Again, very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare. Bunny's pretty rare. You can't find girls that can actually like process this stuff, because notice how many girls come and go in this little sphere.
Don't even get me started
all
on
the
that.
time, because it's hard. It's, you know, it's hard for some girl that has like a new baby at home to be arguing with 10,000 guys about what a horse she is and a gold digger. And, you know,
Yeah.
that's a long day when you could just be like playing tennis.
Yeah.
Playing tennis and, you know, talking to the nanny.
Yeah.
But so it's not the easiest thing. Bunny's kind of already been through the part where you're not a girl, you're not real, no one talks like this.
No,
you know,
no girl has
no
that
girl.
opinion.
No. And so we've already been through that part, and that was the first year or two.
Yeah, it was.
So that's over, and now we can like do our thing. People
That's
don't question
right.
our validity,
Oh, well, not
credentials.
that way.
Every once in a while, somebody will wander in.
And we're like, you're new here.
Come on, stick around.
Get with the program. All right. This is really good, really long. So worth it. This is that thing with the high school. The strip mall guy who we think is super smart.
He is super smart.
He is super smart. Okay. He talks a lot about like how communities kind of operate, how they evolve, how they change, you know, all kinds of things. 2 high schools, both public, same town, just 3.3 miles away from one another, but they might as well have been a continent away. It was the middle of my freshman year of high school. And my parents sat me down. You're changing schools. It was the worst news a 15-year-old could hear, but it changed my life forever. They forced me to move to a high school with completely different social norms, from a school where going to community college was considered cool, to a school where everyone looked up to the kids going to great schools. From a school where the honor list was a place of shame, to a school where the honor list was a place everyone sought. From a school where detention was for the cool kids, to a school where detention was embarrassing. From a school where being late was an accepted norm, to a school where being late wasn't even a thing. From a school where the coolest extracurricular activity was football, to a school where the coolest extracurricular activity was FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America. From a school where the class president was cool, to a school where, well, the class president was sort of a nerd. Yes, it was really a really hard time to transition, but my career would be nowhere near where it is had I stayed at the first high school. The friends I met at the new school were now doctors, venture capitalists, tech leaders. I would not say that they were necessarily smarter than the kids from my first high school, and keep in mind that both were public schools, but the social norms made all the difference, and I sensed it within a minute of walking on that campus. And we have experience with this also.
We've actually seen this, because her daughter, when she moved closer to Fort Worth, switched schools.
Yeah.
You know, and
from one great school to another great school.
Exactly. But it was a different of degrees.
Huge.
Like the school that she's at now is on a college campus.
Yeah.
You know, and academics is celebrated.
Yeah.
And
not just by like the teachers. Like
no. Yeah, it's genuinely admired.
Yeah.
And the people in the neighborhood that feeds it, it's successful business people keeping their kids in public school. I mean, we have enough private schools around here. You know, kids. But that's where the influence and the money, the extra money, comes from. And just to give an example, because like in Texas, football is king.
Yeah,
you know,
it sure is.
And she went to homecoming, which you're supposed to win. And we said, well, how'd it go? And she goes, well, we lost by 40 points, but no one cares. You know, I mean, yeah, it's bad. But the some sports that actually, swimming, cross country, golf, tennis, those are super strong at that school.
Yeah.
You know, you have to have a certain like genetic, and people keep are worried about their children's brains,
Yeah.
keep their kids out of football now.
Yeah.
You know, they're
It's
worried
true.
about head injuries. So she is actually in that environment, and there's just so much opportunity.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and that's what, you know, she even talks about. She's a junior in high school. She's been there the entire high school career. But she talks about you can flourish in this environment. You actually have to actively work to not flourish in this kind of environment because it's so encouraged to be strong in academics, to be well-rounded, to be involved in multiple things, you know, be in the chess club, be a theater kid, and play soccer, play tennis, you know, be on the swim team, and, you know, whatever the case may be, there's something for everyone, and there are multiple layers and levels that you can achieve and are encouraged to. There are more National Merit Scholar, you know, participants or nominees in this school than, you know, like any other in Texas. I mean, we've got astronauts who have come from this school. We've got all kinds of really incredible, high achieving individuals that have filtered through the same halls that she walks. And there's a lot of pride in that.
Yeah. And it goes beyond just academics. It goes to like, there's social mores, because just like the theater director encourages the theater kids to go as a group together to the sporting events.
Yes.
Because it's community support. And if you're in the arts and if you're on the football team and you know somebody that's going to be in a play, you'll go.
Yeah.
And if you have money, you'll donate. You know, I mean, that's the bottom line. So you have to be involved in the community to make it work.
Yes.
You know, I mean, you can't be in a little silo because nobody's going to come to the plays. Nobody's going to donate money.
True.
You know, so if you're out there and they get to know you and you're involved in other things, they're going to come see you. It's kind of like football. If I know a kid is playing, I'll go to the game.
Yeah.
You know, otherwise it's not on my radar.
Right.
If somebody's kid's in the game, I'm like, yeah, I'm there.
Exactly.
You know?
Or cheering or on the dance team.
Yeah.
But I mean, also upper echelon families understand that the cultural arts matter as much as the physical activity.
Yeah.
You know, the physical stuff. So, you know, I would say that lower socioeconomic classes tend to look to ballet or theater or opera as being gay or being inaccessible or being stupid. You know, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that comes from lower socioeconomic classes. Now they may have a kid who's great at drawing, but even then it's not necessarily really encouraged as, you know, to continue on beyond just
they don't have the connections to make it develop.
Yeah.
That's a big thing.
So I think that there's a lot to be said for just having, I would say, an equal arts, you know, that kind of development to the physical development and the mental.
Yeah. And again, the only sport that's kind of weak is like the basketball and the baseball and the football. Because the individual sports tend to
I'd say baseball's good because we have a strong baseball community here.
But one thing about the strip mall guy, and he's mentioned this, so his childhood friend this is what he says. He goes, I didn't go to Harvard, but my best friend did.
Yeah.
So therefore his network became my network.
Exactly.
And he's in New York City and does, you know, real estate. So that pays off. Again, there's so many guys, and there's a major gentleman that lives here in Fort Worth. He didn't have a lot of money. His dad like changed careers midstream, like in his 40s. But he was over here at TCU, and he got some of like $5,000, $50,000 from his college roommate to start his first venture. Now he's worth like $500 million.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. So it starts. Sometimes it is who you know. You might not have it, but your roommate does.
Well, and we've talked about that a lot too. That's really the real goal in university time is making those connections. It's sometimes the knowledge you get in some specialized areas, but for the most part, having the degree of any kind and having the network that you leave college with, be it the professors that you keep in touch with, be it the staff that is the support team, and roommates, dorm mates, all of the friends and classmates that you create over that time that you're in university go a long way in developing your career path.
Yeah. In personal training, it's one of the strange little spheres where it's kind of blue collar. You're working, you're on your feet, but you work with and get to personally know very affluent, successful people. And I've lost count of the number of clients I've had when their best friend was their college roommate.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll say, what are you doing this weekend? They'll be like, well, we're going to Austin. That's where my college roommate lives with her husband.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a long lasting,
it is,
relationship that I guess was 4 years of, ups and downs.
That's
they
right.
stick together after that. It's
That's
very
right.
interesting.
Yeah, it is. All right. The next one is completely off from this, but it cracks us up. So we talk a lot about this. This is, I know you just spotted what it is. We crack up at this because we talk about Yamaha having so many different products. So I'm just going to play this and it's going to crack us up.
Right, we got the company and we've got the funding. Now we just need to brainstorm some products.
Okay, this is the fun part. Pianos.
Pianos, that's good. Nice.
Saxophones.
Saxophones, nice. I'm seeing where this is going.
Trumpets.
I'm liking this. I like this a lot.
Boats.
What?
Boat motors. Seaworthy jet skis.
I'm confused.
Outboard 450 horsepower twin outboard motors.
All right, you're going down one route and now you're talking a completely different, like
oboe reeds.
Okay, I'm just a little bit confused about what's going on here.
Have you ever seen one of those recording studios and they have that table with like 7,000 knobs?
Yeah.
Yeah, one of them.
Okay.
Have you ever seen someone flying down a windy dirt track and one of those like one of them? You look troubled.
What are we doing here, mate? What are we doing here?
Brainstorming. I'm giving you gold.
How many factories do you want us to build?
Oh, obviously, probably one for the trumpets and also one for the outboard motors.
Lachlan, we can't make trumpets and outboard motors.
Why not?
Because they're two completely different things.
Every two things are two completely different things.
I don't understand how we can run a company that makes high-performance motor vehicles and precisionally crafted musical instruments.
We'll find a way. It can be done.
It can't be done.
Oh, God. That cracks us up every time. And that's something that we have talked about so many times.
Well, there's a couple things when I ride dirt bikes. So
she actually has
a Yamaha. That's right. But Husqvarna is a classic. Like, if you're looking for Husqvarna on like Facebook Marketplace, it gives you motorcycles and weed eaters and 0-turn radius mowers.
That is hilarious.
And then Hitachi's the classic. Hitachi makes a sex wand. Show them yours. And they also make like bulldozers.
Hey, that fits.
Which I think is hilarious. They make heavy equipment and some small, the most popular sex machine.
Sex toy.
Every girl likes it. Every girl likes it.
Because it's so much fun.
There you go.
Oh, that just cracked us up. So
I hope you enjoyed that.
Yeah. All right.
Very off
it has
message.
nothing to do with anything except for our personal entertainment. You're welcome. All right. Woo. Let's see. Oh, that's not what I meant to share. Sorry. Next. Be a man with a plan. This turns women on from the beginning to the end of life. Period. Girls respect, women respect being led. And that's true in dating, that's true in attraction, that's true through the proposal, that's true through the marriage, that's true in raising children. It is true all the way to death.
Exactly.
Well, and that came from someone had tweeted. I'm trying to remember. It literally just happened, but I don't recall. But we were talking about like men kind of falling all over themselves, men and women just falling all over themselves to please the woman in front of them or the man in front of them, and it's actually a turnoff.
Yeah.
It is actually a turnoff. So it's just a reminder to please continue to lead always. And that sounds like a bigger job than it is. It actually, you set the stage in the beginning and then you kind of get to steer the ship, but it's not feet on the ground in the trenches work every day.
This is how it falls into our purview.
Yeah.
Is you would be shocked, especially if you kind of watch this, you're somewhat savvy, how many men will ask a girl out and then say, what do you want to do?
Exactly.
I mean,
it happens all the time.
Where do you like to eat? What do you want? Where should we eat? You got to have a plan.
Yeah.
And you need a system because you're going to go out with a lot of chicks over time. And that's why I built the dating system. For Playboys, your dating system.
Yeah.
You can take it and make it work for you wherever you're at in your likes and dislikes.
1,000%.
You need to have a plan. And the good thing about plans is you can reuse them.
Yeah.
You know, if you take one girl to these 2 or 3 places and it works out, great. Then you can take the next girl. You don't even have to think about it because, again, you can start seeing more girls faster because you know where you're going.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So it just makes things, it's just like you never go to the gym without a plan.
No.
You're like, I'm just going to go to the gym and kind of like fuck around. Well, nothing good comes out of that. But if you have exactly what you're training that day, the number of sets, the number of reps,
Mm-hmm.
dating can be very much the same way. Girls are actually pretty good about like falling into your system.
Absolutely.
They'll just follow you along.
That's right.
Yeah. So that is Fort Worth Playboys, your dating system. I mean, it's for sale, and you can use it to basically map out your dating from meeting to putting her in an Uber on the way home.
Exactly.
The whole thing.
Exactly. And then continue to lead. That's the
Yeah.
perfect way to start, but then don't go from that point to falling all over yourself to please her for the rest of your life, because that actually,
No, girls
Will
want to
not
just go along with what you have planned.
yeah. Oh, this is genius. I love this. This goes right along with my cheap dates book. Jorge says, I bought a membership to the Met Museum for about $100 and just used the free passes for cheap dates.
Genius.
Brilliant. Keep doing that.
Genius.
That's awesome.
And that's a good, different date. And once you kind of like know the place,
Yeah.
you can use you can set them down at this place.
Exactly.
You have a drink in the cafe. I mean,
You can create your system through mapped out through the Met Museum. That's genius. I love that. All right, we do have a question. Oh, and he says there are discounts in the rooftop bar.
there you go.
Can you take me to the Met? Because
That's pretty awesome.
I would dig that. I'm all for it. All right. So Christian G says, been shooting photos for several years. Don't normally shoot women. Is it wrong to use it to get women, or is plausible deniability just necessary? It's a great strategy. In fact, there was someone,
Goldman,
that's
a
his
guy
name.
out of New York City. This is 8 or 10 years ago. He wrote Photography Game.
Yeah.
Or Photographers. I think it's Photography Game.
Yeah.
And you can see it on Amazon. And if you dig, I mean, you got to go looking for it. Somebody's got a PDF. I've never been able to find a copy of it.
Yeah.
But there's probably some, at least 2 or 3 blog posts on Photographer Game.
Yeah.
It's a very real thing.
Very real thing.
Girls like to be models. Guys have
Yeah.
their phones or their cameras, and girls even your average girl, she's not going to go out to the park with you, but she'll let you take pictures in the bedroom.
Yeah,
You know, it's exciting. Kind of like I said, girls fuck harder on camera.
absolutely.
You know, you set up a tripod and say, we're going to do, you know, there's more action. They like it. It's that they like to be objectified.
And it's that exhibitionism thing.
Yeah.
We talk about that also. We dedicated 1 or 2 days to that in the Fuck Like a Porn Star course as well.
It's that big of a deal.
It really does. Whether you plan on doing anything with the photos or videos ever, or if they're just for your viewing pleasure and for the excitement of doing it, it is exciting to take pictures of women on the street, to take pictures in the bed, and everywhere in between. It's a great, let's see, I get random messages from girls since every girl is addicted to Instagram. Absolutely, absolutely. You can ride photographer game all the way to the bank. That's a good way to do it.
If you're going to run photographer game, I mean, it's just there for the taking.
Yeah.
You know, the whole thing works. It's sexy, and again, your girls like to be told what to do. You're telling her what to do.
Yeah.
You bring 5 or 10 different outfits. We'll meet here, you know, and it goes from there. But even you're directing her, and it works.
But even day or night game, you could still play with that a lot. You have that camera on your neck or across your shoulder.
Oh, Goldman would carry it around New York City.
Absolutely. You take pictures of girls all day, all night.
Yeah.
All day, all night. Well, I mean, you've even said, like, if you could go back and do your life over again, you would go into photography because it's like, you know.
Okay. When I was in high school, me and a guy named Chris, nice, tall, dark-headed guy, we're walking down the beach at spring break.
Yeah.
And he goes, we're talking about what we want to do. You know,
when you grow up.
I want to spend my life on the beach with beautiful women.
Yeah.
And, you know, I was like, okay. You know, I mean, that makes sense, I guess, man. I mean, good luck. He now spends his life on the beach as a professional photographer with nothing but beautiful women.
Yeah.
It's absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I mean, and he travels all over the world. He shoots beautiful women. Some of them have some things on. Most don't have anything on.
Most don't have anything on.
No, and he's very happy with his life. You know, and he did exactly what he said he was going to do.
That's right.
You know,
it can be done.
The technical skills can be learned.
It's
you
true.
know, everything else is a matter of like your personality and being social and, you know, right place, right time.
Yeah.
And not being afraid to ask.
Not being afraid to ask, not being afraid.
Yeah.
Period.
I believe it's one of those things, you know, just like when you run a lot of women over time, you realize they're all very similar.
Yeah.
You're not identical, but similar to each other. And you will find that with photographer game, that you put a girl in front of the camera, you're going to get like a couple different reactions in general. You know what I mean? Some will be shy, you have to pull them out. And then some are like just good at it naturally.
Yeah.
And some are experienced and good, you know, so.
It's true.
You'll find out when you get there.
It's true. Well done today. Great show. We covered a lot of good topics today.
If you like the show, right now, I'm running a VIP bundle sale. Everything I've ever written, everything I will ever write, all for one price. And there should be a link below. Is there a link?
Yes, there's a link in the description. But it's called his Evergreen Bundle.
Yeah, Evergreen Bundle. One price, everything that I've ever written, all at one time, downloadable, so you don't have to keep it, you know, it's not sent to you in the mail. And immediate access. And as we write things and upload them, and I say me because her stuff is separate, it will be uploaded to that group. And it's
immediately sent to you.
Immediately sent to you. You get it before anybody else does.
Yeah. So you can completely ignore any future sales. But he and I both have an Evergreen Bundle. Many of you have taken advantage of it, and
we appreciate it,
and have not regretted it. It's been a really popular thing to do, especially because when you pay the Evergreen price, you're already getting more bang for your buck than if you had ordered everything individually. And then the more titles we just continue to add to the library, the more valuable that bundle is.
Yeah, in a way, I mean, if you're ever missing a book, you're missing something. If you're missing one of the books.
Yeah.
So this way, you get it all and everything you need in one place, and then we'll just get better and better.
Yeah, I love it.
And that is it for today.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching The Morning Hustle.
Thank you for joining us. Bye. So much